So we continue our foresight session, and as for this session, session number 4, we've got 3 brilliant presentations of very famous researchers, and frankly, I can tell you that if it were my will, I would listen for them for ages. But it's my pleasure to be moderating this session. And the most unpleasant thing is looking for time constraint, 15 minutes for each presentation. So I'd like to bring my excuses in advance for all speakers. When it will be around 13 or 14 minutes of your presentation, I will say that 1 minute left or 2 minutes left. All right. And our first presentation made by our colleague and friend of our center at university, Fabьен Gу-Bodiman, will be dedicated to the future of the ocean. I think it's a very interesting and important topic which everybody is ready to listen, and I hope we all will have an opportunity to spend some time near the ocean. So Fabьen, the floor is yours.
Thank
please.
you. Thank you. Oops. Thank you very much. Let me just share my screen with you, which is a bit complicated, but we'll succeed to do it. Okay, that's it. Do you see it? Yes. Okay, it's fine. Wonderful.
Yes, Fabien,
Okay, so now I suppose that you see it and you hear me. So let me try to give you the last let's say results from the report I just finished for the Royal Institute of Strategic Studies of Morocco about the future of the ocean. And the conclusion is that what we need is an ocean foresight. So the first thing is, why should we need an ocean foresight? And the result is quite simple, is that because the sea is sick. And I will try to describe this in a few minutes. And if you ask me, of course, what is ocean foresight, I would begin to tell you that ocean foresight is mainly based on operational foresight, which is, let's say, very simple method about understanding, anticipating, and proposing, which is linked to what Özcan said just a moment before about moving from anticipation to action. Then the second point is that ocean foresight is a systemic approach of the global ocean, including the impact from land to sea and sea to land, which means that we work not only on the ocean itself, but on the sea as well, I mean the coastal areas. And all the impacts are related, I mean, natural impacts, of course, and anthropic impacts as well, what we are doing to the sea and to the coast. Then this system includes also the comprehensive ecosystem services, which is a notion that we use very much, both biotic and abiotic ecosystem services. And finally, we take into account the value, the economic and non-economic value of the coastal and marine ecosystem services. The last component of this ocean foresight is the fact to recognize that the ocean is a kind of alien ecosystem. And why it is important? Well, mainly because if it is alien, it means that we have no possible comparison with what we know on Earth. For example, on Earth, if you take 1 degree more, I mean, yes, it's important, but it is not a question of death or life, or life, sorry. But in the ocean, I mean, 1 degree is a huge increase in temperature, because most of the animals there have, as you know, as a blood, I mean, a cold blood, which means that they cannot stand many large differences in temperature, and their mobility is not the same than on land, and so on. So it's a very, very different ecosystem, and we have an urgent need for knowledge in this field. So now let's go directly to the point of understanding the planet ocean. I will go very quickly because I suppose that as we are in the decade of ocean, you are all a little bit accustomed to have information about ocean this year. So ocean is the largest body on Earth. It is 71% of the planet's surface, and it is 96% of the biosphere, which is really huge, I mean. And because it is salty and it is moving, I mean, it is a very strenuous area, and it is mostly unexplored beyond 200 meters. So again, we have to try to understand it, mostly because it contributes to 80% of the weather system of Earth, and mainly contributing to fresh water as well. And it delivers 74 ecosystem services to Earth. So this is really an important issue. It's really an issue concerning at least 1/3 of the world's human population, living on this 4% of total surface of Earth's land, which are the coastal areas. So the thing is that between the huge value that these ecosystem services provide to humanity, we have an incredible low, poor knowledge of this body, of this natural body, and all those services. Now, what we all know is that we are living in a civilization based on predation. And this predation right now is done to the detriment of natural balances. It's what we call the Anthropocene, which means something fueling directly the vicious circle that is damaging ocean. And this vicious circle is very simple: pollution, overexploitation, and the results, the consequences of the climate change and carbon emission. I won't go in detail because, as you said, Alexander, 15 minutes, it's very short, but clearly what we understand now is that all these evolutions are in conflict today. I mean, pollution, overexploitation, and climate change are just intersecting together, interfering, and well, in the world, as they are so intertwined, so interdependent, they are now acting as a threat multiplier, which means that even if we would do something today, we have the feeling that nothing could stop it. Yet we have to do something, definitely, because it's really a question of our own survival, because as you know, the carbon storage is an important thing, and right now the ocean store more than 50% of our carbon, which means that it's really huge. And the second point is that ocean deliver more than 50%, it's 50 to 75% of our oxygen in the air, which means that if we want to continue to breathe, we just need a healthy ocean. So the thing is now to the point that we are undergoing an ocean change, exactly the same thing that the climate change. But this time, this is about ocean change. And ocean change is about 4 major, of course, it's very larger than this, but just to make it short, it's 4 major changes. The first one is that ocean water is warming. warming excessively, and this decreased biodiversity, this expand the ocean water, it creates water stratification, which is really something huge because it's changing the thermohaline circulation, slowing, for example, the north current that you all know as the Gulf Stream, for example, but accelerating the Antarctic thermohaline circulation as well. So this is the first point, warming. The ocean is warming, warming, warming. Second point, it is deoxygenation, which means that the content of oxygen in the ocean is decreasing. Of course, you imagine the consequences, which is that, of course, all the biosphere within those areas will die. I mean, all the fishes and algae and whatsoever. I mean, life is just dying in those environments that we called hypoxia areas or anoxic waters. The thing is that inside those zones, I mean, especially in low oxygen zone, you have a prevalence of the hypoxia tolerant species, among them the jellyfish and the toxic algae, which contributes to create not only a desertic zone in terms of biodiversity, but mainly a toxic zone, which is really obnoxious for.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Fabien.
Yeah.
But we cannot see the presentation now. So is it came to the end, or you just switched something? And please,
No,
colleagues.
I didn't touch anything.
All right. So
could you please
okay,
share it again?
Okay.
I'm sorry for interruption, but I think it's important for everybody to continue.
Yes, sure.
Looking into the slides as well.
Dear colleagues, when Fabien is presented, please do not open other presentations.
Do you see it now? Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes, we see it.
Okay, so I'm just continuing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
So
Thanks a lot.
No, nothing. So I was speaking about ocean change and saying that ocean change, the first thing is warming. The second thing is deoxygenation, which is really something serious. The third thing is acidification, which means that we will have less and less plankton in the sea. And as you know, this is a plankton that provide oxygen to the atmosphere. And the last point is about eutrophication, which means that we will have more and more higher concentrations of nutriments along the coasts. And this is doing the same thing that deoxygenation, which is degradation of course, recreational opportunities that provide the seas, but also the development of toxic algal blooms called cyanobacteria, and it's a direct threat to public health as well. So we have now to consider that we are just on the verge of this huge ocean change that no one on Earth will be able to stop. So we have to act now or never. The problem is that if we do not act now, as we will probably have some 7 billion people depending on the sea and for the primary source of food in the next 20 years, we will have to face huge hunger and famines all over the world. I mean, if only for the main first ecosystem service that ocean provide, which is food. So my last point, of course, is once you have anticipating, as Özcan said just before me, is how to move from anticipation to action. And this is where operational foresight is important, because it helps us to move from anticipation to action. Yet, as we just said, the problem is about politics. Right now, we have already many proposals on the floor that could efficiently help to slow ocean change. But this is a real unequal contest, because most of the main players in these issues are superpower countries. Those are the ones with the largest amount of overfishing or carbon emission. And they don't want things to change, even if they are doing, I mean, declaration and treaties and things like that. But right now, it is not changing very much, or not quickly enough, considering this ocean change. So how can we help? So all the point of foresight is about this, is about how foresight can help decision makers to change the world, save the world, we used to say. So I would propose that ocean foresight would help in 3 different ways. The first one is providing a conceptual framework to decision makers. The framework of operational foresight, which is about providing a sustainable future to humankind and Earth in the same time. I mean, being both human-centric and nature-centric, with systemic knowledge, problem-solving, direct knowledge, which is about foresight on site, and collective intelligence as well, because only one of us...
2 minutes left.
Yep, I'm finishing. The second point is about the mindset. We have to provide a new mindset to humanity, and all of us, we are all teaching, we are all doing vocational training, so we have to develop a huge consciousness of what is happening in the world, and especially in the ocean, but also a capacity to shape the future, which is agency. And my last point will be about providing a vision. We need a vision that, of course, we have to provide different scenarios, but now, I mean, considering ocean, it is no longer time to provide scenarios, it is time to provide solution, and we have to provide different solutions. We have to take into account the 9 planetary boundaries, because if we do not meet them, or if we do not limit our impact on them, we won't be able to do anything, and we won't need scenarios, we will need action, and we will need a way to survive. And so this ocean foresight is based on the vision of a sustainable ocean economy for an effective production, sustainable production, and equitable prosperity related to ocean, because the only way to protect it is to inform people based on science, and it is to develop new ways of using the ocean to the benefit of humanity, but respecting it and restoring it now. Thank you very much for your attention, and let's go in the tsunami of change to save the ocean. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Fabien. It's fantastic presentation, and I really think that it quite worth think about foresight for ocean, or ocean in the foresight. It's very important. So if anybody has some short questions, or we could do it in the end of our session. So please raise your hand if anybody. Okay, please.
Fabien, thank you very much for your beautiful presentation, as always. Yeah, my question is, who are your major client? Which organizations, institutions are interested in the results?
Well, the client for those results is directly the cabinet of the King of Morocco, His Majesty Mohammed VI. Who is very interested in the future of ocean and wanted a contribution, and most probably, I mean, we hope that Morocco will join the high panel for sustainable ocean economy at the world level to promote those ideas.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Any other questions? So generally, after this presentation, I think it's not a point of only one country. I think it's everybody's problem.
Absolutely.
Of the whole world. All right. So thanks a lot. Thank you again, Fabien. So let's move to Mars with our great, from ocean to Mars. Why not? With our great friend and a member of our XII Forsайt panel, expert panel, Hose Kordeyro. Jose, so the floor is yours. The same 15 minutes, please.
Yes, it is a pleasure to join from Madrid. Can you verify that you see my presentation, please?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So let's go from the ocean to Mars. And it is interesting that actually we know more about the surface of the moon and the surface of Mars than of the surface of the oceans, which is very interesting. And in fact, the oceans have more surface underwater than Mars. So it is important, obviously, to understand the oceans, but also to understand Mars, because we are going to be living on planet Mars in the next decade. So when I was at MIT, I participated on a Mars simulation, and since then I have been fascinated by space in general, but planet Mars particularly because it is our closest neighbor outside of the system Earth-Moon. Mars has a totally different orbit, so it is a different system than planet Earth. And I work with the Millennium Project. In fact, I lead the Ibero-American team, and we produce yearly reports about the future of humanity. And the latest one was about work and technology in 2050. And in one of the scenarios, we, of course, are already thriving on Mars, not just living, thriving on planet Mars. This will be the third evolution, globalization, I would say, human migration. The first human migration began 100,000 years ago when humans left Africa and colonized the rest of the old world, basically the Middle East, Europe, Asia, and going all the way to Australia, and a few humans traversing the Bering Straits from Siberia into Alaska and North America and South America. But anyway, that was the first human migration that began 100,000 years ago. Then we had the second big migration and globalization over 500 years ago, when the rediscovery of the Americas in 1492 from Spain, actually. And now we are moving on to the third human migration. We are going onto space. And that is why I want to put this on a Spanish perspective. Spain was the country of non plus ultra until the discovery or rediscovery of the America in 1492. And then it became the country of plus ultra, far beyond. And now I propose it is called Mars plus ultra, also Mars far beyond, with the red colors of the Spanish flag. We used to think that the world was like this, okay, centered on Europe. But now we have to think that even cows have that map, but that map is not correct. Because if we go to China, which is also red, China means the Middle Kingdom, and they look at the world in this way. And if we were in Australia, we could see the world upside down. And if we go to other places in different ways, but the idea is that we look at the world with a new face, and also we look at the world with a new behind. So why? Because our planet is a small planet in a small solar system in a small galaxy. So we really need to begin thinking from small into big. Carl Sagan, the very famous American astrophysicist, he said that we were just a pale blue dot in the galaxy, a pale blue dot. And we have to go to other stars, moons, planets to begin the colonization of the galaxy. When Neil Armstrong first stepped on the moon, he said, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And as you know, this was the competition, the space race between the former Soviet Union and the USA. but now this is becoming global. In fact, you can see Google Earth and you can see any part of our planet, and beginning also even going underwater into the ocean. We can see with Google Maps some parts of the ocean, and also we can go into space. And you can see, thanks to the beginning of the interplanetary internet, we will have connections, and we can see Google Moon. This is already online, Google Moon. You can see where we have been in the moon. We also have Google Mars. Google Mars, you can see a lot of things happening in Mars. And we have also Google Sky, where we can see the rest of the universe. Why Mars is so important? Because it is not only the closest planet, real planet, and also it's relatively similar to planet Earth. It's about half of the diameter, and it's also similar in many other ways. In terms of temperature, is the planet in our solar system with the closest temperatures to our own. Again, it has a relatively similar size, and it has many other commonalities, including a day, which is also almost 24 hours, which is unique. So we would fly to Mars maybe without too much jet lag, because it has also almost 24 hours of a day. And the orbits are relatively in synchronicity at some times of the year, so we can go to Mars in only 6 months at the closest point. So there are many missions to Mars, both public missions and now private missions. And this is unique. For the first time in history, not only countries, but now companies like SpaceX, and then eventually Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic, and many other initiatives to go to Mars. Some of them have failed, like Mars One. Mars One failed. It was going to be a reality show of humans going onto Mars, but that didn't succeed. However, there are many others who are moving ahead, like SpaceX. SpaceX has this plan with Elon Musk to colonize planet Mars in the next 10 years. Also, we have a Mars Society. Some of my students have gone to the Mars Society, and they have experimented living on Mars on a simulation for about a month. This is in the desert of Utah in the USA. In Utah, you can see this real Mars simulation. They have all kind of equipment as well, and many other things. But also in Spain now, in the last 5 years, we have a simulation, or actually it is called analog mission. And analog, because it is as similar as possible, to go to Mars. It is called Astroland. It is in northern Spain, in Santander, in one of the caves, in a deep cave, 2 kilometers deep, that simulates the lava tubes, the lava caves on Mars and in the moon. And I am happy to tell you I participated on the first mission, which was on July 2019. And we were a team of 5 astronauts from 4 different nationalities. So I'm very proud to have been part of this first Mars analog mission to planet Mars. We did everything like astronauts did with our equipment, our clothes, our food. We were saying goodbye by the governor of the northern province of Spain, who wish you good luck to go to Mars. And he even said if he were younger, he would like to go to Mars. This is the beginning of the entry into the cave that, I repeat, was 2 kilometers deep going downhill. And these were our clothes, our equipment, our lights, everything that we used in order to go to Mars. This was our home, which was the Mars habitat. Ares, the station Ares, which is also Mars in Greek, the Mars habitat where we were based. And we had to collaborate because this was teamwork. And our lives depended on the lives of our other team members. So this is very important because we are going to rely on very few other people to survive, to be alive. So this makes us reconsider even our own lives in this context. And we were looking for extraterrestrial life in what is called EVA, extravehicular activities. I was the chief scientist of the mission, and we were analyzing water samples in the cave. And in this cave, we found actually small microbia and bacteria that were not identified yet. We had some cultures, and you can see these this amoeba that we discovered. This is the first time this amoeba was scientifically identified, and it was during our Mars analog mission in 2019 in Spain. Also, some of my students from Singularity University, they have been working on going to Mars and have 3D printers. In fact, right now, there are 2 3D printers made by my students from Singularity University. This will change everything once we can 3D print things on Mars. So you don't need to send the pieces. You can 3D print them. You will just send via email the piece that you want to print, even DNA. We could even 3D print biological organisms. So the objective is basically to terraform Mars, to take Mars, which is a barren planet today, into a living planet. So I like to say that the first Martians will be humans. We will be the first Martian of this new epoch. Maybe there were Martians before, but apparently they are not alive if there were any before. But we will be the first Martians. So as a famous Russian scientific Konstantin Tsiolkovsky said, the Earth is the cradle of humanity, but we cannot live forever in a cradle. So I think these are beautiful words from a top Russian scientist, because Russia has been also in the forefront of space exploration and also going to Mars and colonizing the rest of the solar system. We are discovering more and more potential habitable planets, and this is incredible time to be alive. And as science fiction writer Sir Arthur C. Clarke, we are going to colonize the rest of the universe, and evolution continues, but it's moving into maybe a spatial robot evolution to go to other planets. We humans have lived only I don't know, it's hard to say, maybe 250,000 years, 200,000 years in this current shape and form with the current DNA we have. And see what we have done in this really short time. And what we will do in the next few years is amazing. And we need a space program.
3 minutes left.
We need a space program, because Larry Niven said the dinosaurs became extinct because they didn't have a space program. So we need to have a space program and colonize the rest of the universe. I like Chinese philosophy also. And the Chinese have this expression of yin and yang. This is very complex, and it will be even more complex because little yin yang has even more little yin yang. So this is life. This is the future. I like to illuminate the planet. This is the world at night. And you can see, I lived 3 years in Japan, and in front of Japan, you can see Korea, because there are 2 Koreas. There is the Korea of the future, South Korea, totally illuminated with the best internet in Asia, and North Korea with no lights and still with no public internet. So we have 2 futures, the future of the future of the future of the past. So where do we want to go? We need to meditate. I love meditation in any ways, Christian, Hindu, Buddhist meditation. And I finish inviting you to join me on the first trips to planet Mars in this coming decade to colonize, and also watch me on National Geographic. I have done a documentary about Mars, which is called One Day on the Red Planet. So thank you very much. Let's stay together. Let's colonize Mars.
Wonderful,
and the
Jose,
rest
fantastic.
of the solar system and the galaxy, please.
You've got even one more minute, but we've got questions. So if you could please take a look at the chart. We've got one question from Jan Miles and another comment from Dirk Meissner. So could you please answer, Jose? Can you read the chart?
Yes. So Ian Miles is asking about visiting Mars. How can we avoid our presence disrupting and even destroying any biological ecosystem that might exist on Mars, even without terraforming? We do not know yet that life is extinct on Mars. Yes, you are totally right, Ian. That is why the first missions are actually robotic missions right now, and they are trying to find any signs of life, current or even past life. This will continue for the next 10 years until we actually have humans going. They will go with all the protections, not only not to infect Mars with humans, but also for humans not to be infected with any possible life forms on Mars. So during the first few years, until we know that there is no life, we need to be worried about ourselves as well, because we don't know how we might interact with different life forms. So yeah, good question. There is another question about here, Dirk Meissner. Okay, about immortality. Oh, yeah. Well, we were not talking about immortality this time. We were talking about going to Mars. But yes, since I want to go to many other planets, we might need immortality to keep on traveling. So Dirk, yes, immortality goes hand in hand with space travel. And Fabien also has a comment. If we have failed to maintain our own planet, what will we do to the other planets? Okay, Fabien, we don't know. That is why we need to try. I think humanity has been growing wiser and wiser. Actually, 200 years ago, the planet was much dirtier than it is today. If you remember Charles Dickens talking about London, or even Paris 2 centuries ago. Paris and didn't have any fish on the River Seine, and the same in London with the River Thames. They were so dirty, so dirty. Humans lived in a horrible, miserable condition. We have never lived in a better planet than today, and it will only be better because once we become immortal, we will want to have a good planet because we will be alive to see it better or worse. So actually, I think immortality is the solution for sustainability, because once we are immortal, we want to be in a good planet.
All right. So very fascinating answers to beautiful questions. And does anybody have other comments or questions before we move forward? Okay. So maybe in the end of our session, Jose, once again, thanks a lot. Very, very inspiring. And if I'm not mistaken, the idea of the hypothesis of Poincaré, this hypothesis and theory was completely solved by Russian science Perelman, was that you can move from a single dot to the whole universe, and the whole universe could be just put into a single dot. Well, if we simplify all the algorithm and ideas, and this could be a great wild card as well. So our next presentation, made by my colleague Yulia Mishina, will be dedicated to our approach and databases and taxonomy of wild cards. And I know that colleagues are working hard, and I expect very interesting and fruitful presentation into the 15 minutes of the time limit for Yulia. So, Yulia, please, the floor is yours.
Да, спасибо большое, коллеги. Прошу прощения, я буду на русском языке. Спасибо большое за потрясающую презентацию Фабьена и Хосе. Я вынуждена всех вернуть на Землю, наверное, и поговорить немножко о событиях Джокеров, которые нам грозят не только из далекого космоса, но и подстерегают нас повсюду на нашей планете. Сегодня я представлю результаты нашего последнего стратегического проекта по анализу Джокеров, который в этом году мы реализуем совместно с Международным центром анализа и выбора решений, который возглавляет математик с мировым именем Александр Чулок. И мы с ними еще будем работать 2 года в этом проекте, поэтому ждем дальше большие результаты. Сейчас вот какие-то первые результаты за полгода мы получили. В основе нашего исследования лежит работа по проекту мониторинга технологических трендов, в котором мы изучаем мегатренды, то есть это какие-то изменения климата, да, крупномасштабные явления, которые влияют на все сферы деятельности человека, демографические трансформации, новые экономические модели, изменения моделей управления на глобальном уровне, технологические новшества, такие как четвертая промышленная революция или широкое распространение искусственного интеллекта. В свою очередь, мегатренды делятся на глобальные тренды. Здесь в качестве примера представлены тренды развития шеринговой экономики, появления новых финансовых механизмов, изменения рынка труда. Каждый из этих трендов еще в свою очередь делится. И вот следующий этап наших исследований является изучение технологических трендов. Все, что связано с умным производством, с редактированием генома, развитием науки жизни, ну и так далее, и так далее. В каждой области их большое множество этих технологических трендов. И самый, наверное, интересный и сложный уровень связан с анализом джокеров, событий джокеров и слабых сигналов. В научной литературе, на самом деле, нет устоявшегося определения джокеров, как и нет единой классификации этих событий. Обычно под джокером понимается событие с низкой вероятностью наступления, но очень высоким потенциальным эффектом. Термин описывает события будущего, носящие подрывной и беспрецедентный характер. Анализ событий джокеров, особенно в последнее время, становится чрезвычайно актуальным. Да, весь мир пережил пандемию, еще где-то слышны ее отголоски, и существуют прогнозы, что это все еще повторится. По некоторым оценкам, вероятность того, что одно или несколько крайне редких событий случатся в любом заданном десятилетии, составляет более 60%. А несколько таких событий в течение одного десятилетия могут произойти с вероятностью 30%. Некоторые авторы указывают на то, что джокеры случаются примерно раз в 10 лет. Но, например, частота таких событий, как стихийные бедствия, растет с каждым годом. Поэтому так важно уделять этому большое внимание. Предвестниками джокеров часто служат слабые сигналы. Ну, наверное, вот для начала хотелось бы разобраться, да, чем отличаются джокеры от слабых сигналов. Мы посмотрели на несколько характеристик джокеров и слабых сигналов. Это вероятность проявления, это последствия, возможность обнаружения этих событий и степень их влияния. Джокеры отличаются, во-первых, низкой вероятностью возникновения. В свою очередь, слабые сигналы в момент появления практически незаметны, и существует значительный временной лаг до того, как они разовьются до каких-то заметных явлений. Джокеры обычно проявляют себя очень ярко в случае возникновения и оказывают большое влияние на экономику, общество, политику. Слабые сигналы являются уже предвестниками будущих изменений, изменения каких-то технологических или возникновения конфликтов даже. Что касается возможности обнаружения, то джокеры, как правило, являются чем-то из ряда вон выходящим, то, что не вписывается в привычную картину мира, и практически невозможно обнаружить привычными инструментами. Слабые сигналы также выявить чрезвычайно сложно, но обычно они существуют лишь неструктурированные, фрагментированные отдельные данные. По степени влияния джокеры считаются серьезными, разрушительными, катастрофическими, аномальными явлениями. Слабые сигналы же зачастую теряются среди шума новостной повестки и какой-то преобладающей парадигмы. Ну, когда мы разобрались, в чем разница между джокерами и слабыми сигналами, перед нами встал вопрос о классификации джокеров. В научной литературе существует ряд подходов к классификации таких событий, но системного видения этой таксономии они не дают. На основе изучения большого количества исследований последних лет, которые посвящены джокерам и их классификации, мы предложили свою классификацию и попытались отразить не все возможные типы таких событий. Сейчас мы как раз там готовим статью в журнал и книгу, где будут представлены результаты этих событий, этой классификации, наши результаты. Классификация нами предложена состоит из 5 основных категорий, которые подразделяются еще на несколько категорий. Какие это категории? Это само событие, причины его возникновения, реакция на событие и возможность предвидеть наступление события, а также последствия и эффекты этого события. К первой основной категории, это появление события, да, мы относим несколько подкатегорий. В частности, частота наступления событий. Это либо единичные случаи, либо события, случающиеся крайне редко. К событиям такого типа можно отнести, например, природные катастрофы, повторяющиеся раз в 50-100 лет. Редкие, здесь вот в качестве примера приведены наводнения, повторяющиеся на равнинных реках, которые где-то раз в 10-15 лет возникают, по данным даже там, Министерства чрезвычайных ситуаций России. То есть это, в принципе, официальные данные. И частые, например, пики экономических кризисов разного масштаба. Кроме того, событие может характеризоваться скоростью своего наступления. Она может быть медленной, годы и месяцы. Данные критерии, например, свидетельствуют о том, что можно предсказать условия и сроки наступления этого шокового события. Как, например, там, полная резистентность бактерий к антибиотикам. Уже сейчас ежегодно умирают 1000 людей от этой проблемы. Эта проблема растет, она обозначена ВОЗ, и ее пытаются купировать. Также скорость может быть быстрая. Быстрое наступление событий, очень сложно его избежать и как-либо подготовиться к нему. И внезапное. Тоже такие есть события. Что касается третьей подкатегории, это ожидаемое время наступления. Событие может наступить через 1-2 года, через 3-5 лет, 5-10, ну и так далее. Тут в качестве примера вот у меня приведена полная замена врачей роботами, которая прогнозируется как раз на горизонте 15-20 лет. Вторая основная категория – это причины наступления события. Она состоит также из 3 подкатегорий. Во-первых, это уровень влияния человека на это событие. Высокий уровень, может быть низкий, или вообще человек на это не влияет, да, человек или общество. Но при высоком уровне такое событие, как, например, изобретение лекарства от онкологии, может вообще в целом изменить структуру смертности, увеличить продолжительность жизни и в некоторых случаях очень значительно. И будет иметь значительные последствия там, для экономического развития положительного. Что касается совокупности факторов, которые стали причиной наступления событий, это следующая подкатегория. Это может быть один фактор, несколько известных факторов и совокупность неизвестных факторов. Очень интересный пример влияния единичного фактора на возникновение Джокера связан с аварией в 1999 году на Филиппинах в электростанции, которая привели медузы. То есть они заблокировали электростанцию, и в результате произошло отключение электроэнергии для 40 миллионов человек. И возникли даже следующие отголоски этого события, то есть среди населения распространилось мнение о готовящемся военном перевороте. И всего лишь повлияли на это медузы. Что касается понимания причин возникновения событий, мы их можем понимать, мы можем их не знать, конкретных причин, да, и это понимание может быть различным. Ну вот в последней категории, например, можно отнести различные поведенческие факторы, экономически необъяснимые причины изменения цены акций. Третья основная категория – это возможность предвидеть наступление события. Здесь мы выделяем уровень предсказуемости наступления события. Это либо непредсказуемое событие. Так, например, появление биткоина было непредсказуемым, хотя технология блокчейна появилась намного раньше, но все это время она не использовалась в платежных операциях. Низкий уровень предсказуемости событий. К таким событиям можно отнести, например, землетрясение. Несмотря на существование математических моделей и большой прогресс в этой области, все равно точность их остается не очень высокой, хотя все время повышается. Что касается согласуемости с данными из прошлого, да, они могут согласовываться, это событие, с данными из прошлого, а может и нет. Как, например, здесь самое дикое из джокеров – это там прилет инопланетян. Никаких данных, естественно, из прошлого у нас по этому поводу нет. Что касается слабых сигналов и степени реакции на них. Для некоторых событий такие слабые сигналы могут существовать, для некоторых они существуют, но игнорируются, для той же пандемии, да, COVID-19, потому что 10-15 лет назад ученые широко об этом говорили, но должных мер не было принято. И некоторые там учитываются при реакции на джокер. Четвертая основная категория – это реакция на события. Тут довольно много подкатегорий. Это, во-первых, уровень необходимых действий. То есть это уровень глобальных институтов, национальный уровень, региональный или корпоративный. Очевидно, что проблема потепления и изменение климата на планете – это глобальная проблема, и решать мы ее должны совместно. Доступность ресурсов, следующая подкатегория. Ресурсы доступны полностью, частично и вообще отсутствуют. Еще одна подкатегория – это скорость реагирования, то есть мы должны реагировать немедленно, как, например, появление новой пандемии, оно, естественно, требует немедленной реакции. Мы можем отсрочить там, да, определенный горизонт среднесрочно и долгосрочно, когда происходят какие-то системные изменения. Скорость адаптации к событию в разрезе факторов какая может быть? Низкая. То есть, например, возможные новые эпидемии, они, вероятно, будут вызывать экономическую нестабильность. Высокая скорость адаптации, как введение универсального базового дохода, можно предположить, что она будет достаточно высокой, потому что уже какие-то пилотные программы есть опыт применения этих программ. Если в какой-то момент будет принято решение о том, чтобы этот доход был введен. Что касается необходимых мер. Это могут быть отдельные меры или какие-то системные изменения. Например, при коммерциализации квантового компьютера, естественно, это повлечет за собой системные трансформации в самых разных областях.
3 минуты осталось.
Хорошо, мне чуть-чуть, да, я скоро закончу. Поведение общества в случае наступления событий. Общество либо снижает, либо усугубляет последствия, либо это совершенно разнонаправленные действия. Пятая подкатегория, последняя, это последствия и эффекты наступления событий. Какая может быть интерпретация последствий? Нейтральная, позитивная или негативная? Например, там, наступление эпохи тотального неравенства связано либо там, с владением финансами, либо там, с медицинскими какими-то совершенствованием человека, да, кому-то они будут доступны, кому-то нет. Естественно, воспринимается негативно. Потенциал мобилизации для купирования последствий, он может быть или высоким, или низким. Обратимость последствий тоже или существует она или нет, или она частична. Природа эффекта, тут мы выделили по степени V, масштаб эффекта глобальный и локальный, уровень влияния и период между событием и его последствиями. Тоже это может длиться там несколько дней или часов, месяцы или дни, или несколько лет займет. Ну и подводя итоги, я, наверное, скажу про то, что сейчас мы, вот опять-таки, только на начальной стадии этого проекта, но мы уже создали прототип базы данных таких событий, в нем в этой базе более 150 событий, каждый из которых описано, даны ключевые оценки, какие-то прогнозы, и эти события классифицированы, соответственно, в соответствии с нашей предложенной классификацией. База данных это постоянно пополняется, мы планируем ее расширить значительно, и математики, да, наши коллеги, которые вместе с нами работают, они уже очень детально математические методы исследуют отдельные события Джокера, такие как, например, извержение вулканов на Камчатке и возможность прогнозирования этих извержений, или, например, продуктовые шоки на глобальном уровне. Здесь вот представлен радар, который мы делаем под разные радары под разные проекты. Здесь в качестве примера тоже привели его. Ну, наверное, все. Спасибо большое за внимание. Я надеюсь, я уловил.
All right. I'm perfect. So, dear colleagues, do you have any questions to this brilliant and well-structured presentation? So, please. All right, Yulia, can you read a chat? There's a question from Jan.
Да.
Yulia?
Yulia, can you apply your radar to specific areas? Так,
okay, let me just switch to Russian again.
Да, давайте я на русском прочитаю. Давайте я открою радар и...
Английский, чтобы все слышали вас, на английский канал.
Да, ага, сейчас делаем. Okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, okay. I'll read it. Yulia, can you apply your radar to specific areas, for example, health? Of course, we do it. We adopted for our specific projects. We use this database for different projects, for commercial projects and fundamental projects. So we have a lot of events, a lot of wildcards for about medicine and health issues.
All right, so it should be adapted. It could be adopted to any area or any direction. Yes,
yeah,
if
yes,
I understand
yes.
you right.
Yes, of course.
So it's quite agile. All right. Does anybody have other questions? Because I've got one, but only after you, colleagues. All right. So, well, I guess it's very important for Foresight activity to know the wildcard and identify weak signals. But we always been asked, Yulia, and please excuse that I retranslate this question to you, because I've been also asking this question frequently. How can we predict the unpredictable? And if we could predict, it's not unpredictable because we've done it. It's a little bit philosophical questions, and I've read a lot what Ocean Saritas wrote about this. But how do you deal with this issue within this project?
Okay, it's a very important question. It's a very difficult question because I think about every day during this project because there are a lot of events that we can expect, but and we have weak signals of them, and there are a lot of indeed wild cards which can be projected. For example, as the strong IE or the transhuman rights charter or something on Gulf Stream collapse. We didn't have any signs of aliens, so we didn't have any signs of its that it will happen. But we should study them and analyze them for to improve our researches and to improve our foresight, I think.
Okay, yeah, we've got a brilliant comment from Fabьен. Yes, it's the same question, but I think when we do some practical, we have somehow to make some basic assumptions about this question. Yulia, we've got another question. So about the methods, what methods are used to identify weak signals? So could you please answer?
Of course, the main methods are creative methods in foresight studies to study the weak signals and wildcards. We study a lot of literature about different events in a specific area and see the signs of future changes. So there is more difficult methods connected with models of our mathematician part, but it's based on the availability of data. It's not always available to us, so we use the brainstorming also with our colleagues about different weak signals and wildcards, foresight sessions. It's about it's about to get the expert opinions and to connect it with our intellectual big data analysis system. So we try to use everything to analyze them and to gather them.
All right, so I guess you have already answered the question about that. It seems more qualitative rather than data analysis. So you do use data analysis. Another question from Fabьен, please. method to try guess educatedly the unknown unknowns. If you could please also comment.
Yes, I think it's about the same method. So we're trying to use the whole picture of foresight methods to study them. As I say already, we use also the big data analytics. We gather a lot of different sources and analyze them in order to find the wild card and to find the big signals. So then we discuss it with our experts within the university and outside the university, and try to do some predictions about the realization.
All right. Okay, colleagues. Does anybody have other questions? So we could slightly move to our wrap-up and summarizing. All right. So Yulia, once again, thanks a lot. So you see a lot of interest to this point and to the presentation. Thank you. All right, colleagues. So does anybody want to comment or have other questions? Because I've got questions to each speaker. So if nobody wants right now to ask question, so all right, in this case, please let me start. Okay, so we have continuous question about the big data, unknown unknowns, only imagination. All right, Yulia, the last question for your wild card. Do you use science fiction?
Yes, I think it's very useful here. Why not?
Okay.
Because there are a lot of different wild cards, so we use all the instruments for them. Thank you for your interest, Fabien.
All right. Well, generally, I can tell you when we deal with different type of clients and stakeholders. So some of them read our conservative foresights like a science fiction. And I guess it's a very important question which has been raised at our session is the readiness of specific stakeholder for in transforming and for some adaptation according to foresight results. It's very important from my point. It's a very important question. So let me please to sum up ask our speakers to briefly answer the following. So first of all, we really were introduced three brilliant presentations. We were on start from the ocean, then we were on Mars and out space, and then get back to the universe of wildcards. All right. So the question to Fabien and Jose, and then to Yulia, is: do you think who is the direct or indirect client of the activities that you described, and what are the first steps to move it forward? I mean, to start this activity. If you could please briefly answer these questions. Fabien, please.
Yes, well, I would say that I'm talking for myself, but my clients are public authorities, from territories to national bodies, like governments, for example, to international bodies like UN organizations. And I think that we have to target very carefully, which maybe we have not done until now. We have to target our clients so that we will go directly to the people who are influencers and who are real decision makers. Maybe they are not public authorities. Maybe they are citizens. Maybe they are groups of influencers like the Davos Forum. the World Economic Forum, like some alliance, for example, the high-level panel for ocean, sustainable ocean economy. Well, I think we had to make a real effort in our respective field to target the real decision makers, and they might not be in the future what we used to think they are. Thank you.
All right, and what should be the first step to move the Foresight Ocean forward? Because I really enjoyed this idea. So what is the first step?
I think that the first step is to disseminate it, first of all, because it's a very new approach, and even the term that I coined of ocean change, like we have climate change, is something new, and we have to spread the word, first of all. I mean, you have to prepare minds to understand what's happening before hoping that a decision could be efficient.
All right, great, thank you, thanks a lot. So Jose, please, the same questions for you.
Well, like Fabien was saying about the ocean, in terms of the space, we have the same players. And actually, even the United Nations has been trying to have some mandates, some regulations about what is called outer space. So there are outer space rights, duties, liabilities, and all these things have to be considered because the players are many. First, it was just the governments. As you know, the space race was begun by the Soviet Union, and then the USA jumped in. But now we have many, many players. It is not just Russia and the USA. It is China, it is Japan, it is India, it is the European Union, smaller countries like South Korea and Israel, and now, interestingly, the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates already have a mission on Mars, which is very interesting. But now companies are coming in. As I said, Elon Musk with Tesla, and well, actually SpaceX. The SpaceX is his space subsidiary that probably will beat NASA. This is incredible. SpaceX will beat NASA to go back to the moon probably, and certainly to go to Mars. So now we have private players, and therefore we have to be more careful, because private players don't follow by the same rules as public players, as governments. And Elon Musk has even mentioned that he wants to create a government on Mars and create also a cryptocurrency for Mars. In terms of having money, a cryptocurrency for Mars. There will be interplanetary internet. Actually, this is just beginning now with the International Space Station. There is Wi-Fi, there is internet between the International Space Station and planet Earth continuously, and we will have the same connections to the moon and to Mars. So there are many players, even individuals, because it is not just SpaceX. Elon Musk himself wants to go to Mars, and he has said it, that he might like to die on Mars, but not on landing, not on landing. And also
not from disease, but because he's tired of living. And what should be the first and what should be the first step? What do you think?
Well, I think it is conversations between governments at the United Nations also, just like it's happening with the environment as well. You know, we just had the Egypt COP27. Many of these things for the environment were discussed. Now we have to discuss this about going to space, to outer space, and also bring in private players. We need to bring in private players and individuals, because also Jeff Bezos, you know, from Amazon, he has his other company, Blue Origin. In fact, he left Amazon to dedicate his time to space, which was his childhood dream. He wanted to go to space when he was a kid. So now he leads himself Blue Origin, which is from our blue planet going onto other planets. So anyway, people like Elon Musk, like Jeff Bezos, like Richard Branson from Virgin Galactic, they also have to be in the discussions, companies and governments. This is very interesting.
Okay, so we'll try to get on board all these notable persons next conference. It will be a wild card for everybody. And thanks for your answer. And Julia, do you think who could be? I understand and I know that there are a lot of internal clients for this, but do you think it could be? I mean, this project and this research direction. Do you think it could be interested to maybe other stakeholders, and what should be the first step on moving forward, please?
Thank you so much for this question, Alexander. If a few years ago we didn't even dream that the analysis of wildcards would appear in foresight for business companies and government bodies, now almost every commercial and state project includes the analysis of wildcards. Weak signals, different risks. The need for them is very high. So I think that the project is very, very important in this our very difficult, complex, and unpredictable reality. We need to be prepared for such tremendous changes, which are waiting behind each door, in each sphere.
And who could be our possible clients? I mean, some ministries or companies, or maybe just ordinary people. I mean, just me and you and all the society. What do you think?
Of course, we did the projects for companies this year, which included the analysis of wildcards for huge Russian company. We did some projects for our governmental body, and are planning to do the next year. Of course, each person are interested in knowing something more about the future, about such unknown events, in order to be prepared for his career or living or entertaining anything.
All right. So thanks a lot. Okay, dear colleagues. So we have just a few minutes. If anybody want to comment or have some question. Well, generally, I think that we've got very interesting discussion of different aspects of foresight activities, different approaches and methods. But finally, let me represent my own view. I think that a human, I mean person, specific you, me, everybody is a very important client of our foresight, and until we don't have enough prepared people for the future could be quite unpredictable and not resilient. But if we increase the ability to embrace everything what is happening, maybe we will not need big data or our imagination for known unknowns, because we will be ready for all known unknowns, even if we cannot predict this. Just some idea. So let me express my gratitude to all speakers, to our translators, to our methodological and technical support, to all participants, and to HSC as a think tank and platform for organizing such interesting discussion. So thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So,
live long and prosper. Live